I woke up in an unfamiliar white room, utterly bewildered. My parents' eyes were filled with tears. The doctors with curiosity. Why was I in a hospital? Why did I have these bruises on my body? I couldn't remember anything. Chapter 15. I slowly cracked my eyes open. A bright, white light greeted my eyes and I quickly closed them. An annoying beeping noise sounded to my right. It sounded like my alarm clock. I moved my right hand to press the snooze button, but felt a tug from the back of my hand. I put my hand back where it was. I took a deep breath, and found that there was something covering my nose and mouth. My breathing started coming more erratically and the beeping noise increased in tempo. Oh, sweetie, please calm down. You're okay. You're okay. I heard a female voice from my left. I tried opening my eyes again, but again found a bright light searing into my eyes. I closed my eyes harder. Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. To my agent extraordinaire, thing.丨Heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. Let me dim the lights, the same female voice said. Despite what she said, I kept my eyes closed. My breathing was slowing down, but I could still feel the thing that was covering my nose and mouth. I tried again to move my hand to take the thing off my face, but another tug from the back of my hand made me, again, put down my hand. My mouth moved as I tried to ask the lady to take the thing off my face. No sound came out of my mouth. My brain scrambled to try and remember how to form coherent sentences off. The demand scratched its way out of my throat. I don't know if she heard it through the thing on my face. What, honey? You want me to take the mask off? The nurse asked. I felt her hands clasp the thing on my face. There was a click and the thing came off. My eyes opened slowly. There you go, honey. I see you're awake now, so I'll go notify your parents. To my agent extraordinaire, thing.丨Heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. Blonde-haired nurse said. She has kind, blue eyes, but they're filled with pity. Why would they be filled with pity? The nurse turned around, walked to the door, opened it and left. I groaned as a slight pounding started in my head. The smell of cleanliness reached my nose, and my brain finally caught on that I wasn't at home. A white room greeted me. White walls, white floor, white ceiling, we sort of all the white. The beeping again sounded from my right. When I looked over, I saw a heart monitor and a bag full of white liquid. My eyes followed a skinny tube attached to the bottom of the bag, which led to me. The end of a tube was attached to an IV that was in my hand. I'm in a hospital. Confusion clouded my brain. I don't remember getting here. I don't remember what happened to make me have to come to a hospital. I don't remember anything. The door opened, and my parents rushed in. A small sigh left my mouth at the sight of them. However, my brow furrowed in confusion as I saw the tears in their eyes. Oh, sweetie, my mother cried out as she practically ran to me. She enveloped me into a hug, which was soon suffocating me. I didn't mind. It felt nice. As soon as my mom let go of me, my dad's arms replaced hers. We were so scared, he said as he hugged me. What happened? My muffled question came from my dad's shoulders. He let go of me and gave me a confused look. He looked at me a moment longer, and then sighed and looked towards my mother. They made eye contact briefly, and then both looked towards me. You were unconscious, my dad started, when we found you in the morning. I thought you were just tired and forgot to set your alarm. When I walked over to your bed and started to shake you, you didn't respond. I tried shaking a little harder and calling your name, but you still didn't respond. He stopped there, but I knew there was more to the story. He again looked towards my mom, and she gave him a small nod. He continued, I turned you over so you were on your back, and that's when your shirt rolled up on your stomach. There were bruises, and that's when it all came rushing back to me. The bruises. To my agent extraordinaire, thing.丨Heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. The pain. Seeing black dot, then nothing. Cracking my eyes open and seeing blue and red flashes of light. Then just now, the bright light which had been dimmed. Why didn't you tell us? My mom's voice reached my ears. Tell you about what? My hollow voice asked. My mom gave a strangled laugh. Well, I don't know. The bruises. The doctor said that they had been there for a couple weeks. At least. I didn't faze from my mother's almost hysterical accusation about the bruises. I didn't say anything. Evangeline, what happened? How did you get those? She almost shouted. Yes, how did you get those bruises? A female voice asked. I looked toward the door as, whom I presumed to be my doctor, walked in. Her brown hair matched her brown eyes, which were full of curiosity. When you got here, she continued while walking towards me, you were unconscious. Your parents didn't know why, so I was hoping that you would know why. She stopped by my IV bag and heart monitor. Her name tag said Drive. Jenny Riff. All the attention was on me. My parents, the doctor, and the nurse who slipped in behind the doctor. Everyone was expecting me to answer the question. But the problem was, I couldn't tell them. How would I explain it to them? Sensing my quietness, Drive Riff continued. We quickly got you on an IV once you were in here. We didn't know the source of your unconsciousness, and we needed to know why to see how we could help you. I think I knew where this was going. We had to take off your clothes to see if there was any physical damage. That can be very dangerous. You know. However, we got the answer when we took off your shirt. She stopped there. I refused to make eye contact with anyone, so I settled on looking at the IV in my hand. The question was on everyone's face, where did the bruises come from? My mom, Dad, Drive, Riff, and even the nurse had the same look of concern and confusion on their face. After quickly glancing at everyone, I stared at the IV again. I could feel their eyes burning into me. Drive. Riff continued. We found the bruises. She stated the obvious, and we immediately tried to find where they're coming from. We looked for physical violence, but there was none except for the bruises. Then we took an X-ray to see if the damage was internal. She stopped again. I had a feeling that whenever she stopped, the news just got worse and worse and worse. I wonder how bad it can actually get. There was also some internal bruising. Not too bad, I don't think. Not enough to be seriously harmful, but enough to ask why. Drive. Riff stopped again. She was starting to get on my nerves. I wanted to tell her to just spit it out. I opened my mouth to voice my thoughts, but the door to the room opened and my thoughts took a different route. Josh looked frantic. His hair was all messed up and he almost had a crazed look in his eye. He then looked at me, and seeing that I was okay, he looked relieved. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You're okay. Josh's voice was filled with relief. Who are you and what are you doing here? My mom asked. Shit. But what was he doing here? I heard she was in the hospital and I came right away. Josh explained to my mom. His voice took on a respective quality. Mom still looked confused. But, who are you? And how do you know Evie? A stubborn look crossed his face. My name is Josh, and I'm Eddie's friend from school. A knowing look crossed my mom's face as she turned back to face me. She raised her eyebrows in question. Date Josh, she mouthed. I nodded my head quickly, hoping that no one caught on to our little conversation. Josh, what are you doing here? Drive Riff asked. My head snapped to the doctor. How did she know Josh? Oh, hi Drive. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I am here because I heard about what happened to Evie and I needed to make sure that she was okay. Josh sounded very professional when he answered. However, his answer did nothing to my question about how they knew each other. Of course, Drive. Riff mumbled. My confusion grew when she answered. However, she continued. Why don't we give Josh and Evie a moment alone? My mouth fell open. Give us a moment. Drive Riff started walking towards the door. She reached my parents, who also had their mouths open in shock. and started ushering them to the door. No, I'm not leaving my daughter in here with him. I don't even know who he is. I want answers. My mom almost shouted as the doctor continued to try and usher them out the door. I promise you answers. I need to tell you outside of this room. Though drive, Whiff said quietly, as if she was telling my parents a secret. Both my mom and dad looked like they wanted to argue. However, the doctor must have said something, or mouthed something, to them that I couldn't hear. My parents looked to me and sighed. They followed the doctor out of the room, leaving myself and Josh in the room. I waited for him to start talking. I, sure as hell, wouldn't talk first. Josh walked to my bed and sat on the edge of it. Concern poured from the expression on his face and body language. How are you feeling? I snorted at his dumb question. Well, thanks for asking. I am feeling utterly fantastic considering I woke up in a hospital. Sarcasm dripped from my tone. Josh gave a half-hearted laugh. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Please take this seriously. I am taking this seriously. I woke up in a freaking hospital. Josh, and I don't know how I freaking got here. I shouted at him, my anger spurting. Josh grimaced and looked away from me. I stared him down as he looked at the wall. He bit his lip and looked like he wanted to say something. Spit it out. Josh, I commanded. Whatever he needed to say, he needed to say soon. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I can't just come out and say it. It's not my place to say. He looked like he was in between a rock and a hard place. If it's not your place to tell me, then whose is it? Hoping my irritability shone out in my voice, Josh grimaced again. His eyes met mine for a split second, and then looked away. Suddenly, he stood up and started pacing. Josh, who can tell me? The command was in my voice. I wanted to know who could tell me, and I wanted to know what they could tell me. I can't tell you. I'm sorry, Evie. He looked genuinely sorry, but his sorry-ass excuse pushed me over the edge. If you can't tell me, then why the hell did you start talking? I shouted at him. I hoped my anger was evident, and I hoped he knew that all of it was directed at him. He knew. Josh stopped pacing and froze. He cocked his head and waited a minute. No. Looking at the wall. No, what? What did I do? Exasperated. Who the hell was he talking to? I'm the only one in the room. Josh's attention suddenly landed on me. His eyes looked into mine as if he was peering into my soul. He suddenly looked excited. I cocked my eyebrow in confusion. What the hell do you? I was interrupted by Josh. It's going to be better, Evie. He rushed to the side of my bed and clasped my hand. It's going to be so much better. Chapter 16. A day in the hospital is a day too long. I was sick of only seeing white. I was sick of having this stupid IV in my hand. And most of all, I was sick of the annoying beeping noise that was my heart. The doctor said that I couldn't leave until I told them what the bruises are, or the bruise disappear. I haven't said a word yet. I'm not planning to. I will wait it out until the bruises disappear. They'll have no claim over me then, and then I will be free. Well, free from the hospital. I mumbled to no one. My parents had promised to unleash the wrath if I didn't tell them where the bruises from. Hey, Evie, Josh said as he walked in. He had left right after his little better promise. He left me sputtering for answers, but he didn't answer any of my half-sputtered questions. He just left. At least he was smiling. Like a fool. Hi, Josh. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. My voice clicked. I was still irritated that he just left. He scratched his head. Listen? About yesterday. I don't want to hear your excuses. Just tell me the truth. I interrupted him. My voice was accusing. Hopefully very accusing. Josh took a deep breath and came to sit next to me. He ruffled his hair and seemed to be at a loss. However lost he was, I will wait patiently until he starts talking. I wasn't lying when I said it's going to be better. I'm not lying now when I say it's going to be so much better. Josh took a deep breath and turned to look me in the eye. But I can't tell you. I'm not the one who should tell you. You need to be told by someone who's much more important to you. I opened my mouth to protest that there's almost no one who's more important than him, but he put his finger over my lips, silencing me. I sat back and let him continue. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Can you trust me? Please. Josh looked so earnest as he asked me. He looked pleading, like the whole world depended on my trust in Josh. Only for a little bit. Josh smiled. And in turn, I smiled back at him. So, when are you getting out of here? Josh asked suddenly. The doctor said that I couldn't leave until I told them where the bruises are coming from or the bruises disappear. So, I don't know. I responded. Josh became tense suddenly. I guess the bruises were a sore subject for him. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Why, I have no idea. It's not like the bruises are on him. So, what are you going to do? Still tense. Well, the only one I can do. I'm just going to wait it out until they disappear. It's not like I know where they are coming from. I told him. Josh was still a tiny bit tense. He winced at my last sentence. Knowing that he won't explain why he winces at the mention of my bruises. Oh, so bad news. Josh changed the subject. Math and science test coming up. It's all as my turn to wince. I hate tests. Wait, not the worst part. He paused for dramatic effect and I groaned. They're on the same day. Josh, I'm supposed to be relaxing. How am I supposed to relax when you keep ruining my day with news about tests? I groaned again. He started laughing at my expense. I retaliated by punching him in the arm, which only succeeded in making Josh laugh harder. You punch like a girl, he said through his laughs. I am a girl. What's your excuse? Josh's laugh died down and a competitive gleam appeared in his eyes. You don't want to play with the big bad wolf, he said through a mocking smile. Josh knew I would take the bait. I don't think you would be a big bad wolf. I paused for dramatic effect. Or like an adorable puppy. After a pause, Josh started to laugh again. I seemed to miss out on some hilarious joke. Because Josh couldn't stop laughing. What? Playfully irritated. Nothing. Just something really ironic. I didn't mean to say it. Josh said, still laughing. I took a moment while he was laughing to replay our conversation. The only thing that stuck out to me as being funny was the big bad wolf comment. I guess it could be funny. Though I don't know why it would be ironic. Oh, maybe it was my adorable puppy comment. Maybe Josh has a dog and that's why it's ironic. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I was snapped out of my thoughts at the sound of my mom's voice at the door. Christine is on the phone. Oh, okay. This was going to be interesting to explain to Christine. My mom came towards the bed and handed me the phone. But before I talked to her, I wanted a little privacy. Josh, could I please talk to her alone? I hoped he understood that I wasn't trying to be rude. Oh, yeah. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I actually have something to take care of, so I will see you later. Josh responded as he walked to the door. I waved goodbye as I put the phone up to my ear. Hi, Christine. What's up? I hesitantly asked her. I knew she was going to explode as soon as she got the chance. Oh, I don't know. The response came though the phone. I almost flunked a test. I saw a movie or two. Oh yeah. I found out my best friend is in the hospital. Kristen ended in a shout. I'm sorry, I started to apologize for not phoning her earlier, but was cut off by her explosion. How could you not phone me? Your mom had to tell me where you were in the end. I was trying to contact you. No answer to the texts. Then I called and left voice messages, but you never contacted me back. Finally, Your mom must have picked up your phone and called me and told me that you were in a freaking hospital. I was silent during her mini-rant. I knew she needed to get everything out in one go. I heard her take a deep breath. While I was silent, thing.丨Moonlit, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Kristen started again. What happened? Why are you in a hospital? It was my turn to take a deep breath. I didn't even know how to start explaining this. I didn't even know if I wanted to explain this to Kristen. I mean, how crazy would it sound? Bruises that just appear after what feels like fire races through my veins every night. It doesn't make any sense. Hopefully, she could make sense of it. Do you want the long version or the short version? I asked her. Long, came the immediate reply. For the next half hour, I told her how I got to the hospital, from what happened on that first night, to the last night that it happened. I tried to explain the fire as best I could without sounding completely crazy. I explained how the bruises would show up every morning, and just when they seemed like they would disappear, another night of pain would replace the fading bruises with new ones. Kristen didn't say anything during my story. Surprisingly, she kept silent, not interrupting at all. Even when I finished, she kept silent for a minute, like she was letting everything sink in. Wow. Kristen finally said something. I responded hesitantly. Kristen didn't give any indication that she believed my story. I heard her take a deep breath. Do you know where they're coming from? Kristen asked. She believed me. A wide smile stretched on my face. You believe me? Hoping she heard the gratitude in my tone. Well, it makes no sense whatsoever. But I'd never know you to be a liar. She elaborated. But I didn't care. Kristen still believed me. Thank you, Kristen. It feels so much better that two of my best friends. I was interrupted by Kristen's loud exclamation from the phone. What? I'm not the first person who knows about this. She shouted. I grimaced. No, Josh was. I told him on the night of our date. That wasn't a date. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And I thought that I was the first, she exclaimed, but I heard a hint of sadness in her tone. Kristen. But if it's any consolation, Josh forced me into telling him. I quickly tried to explain. He wouldn't bring me home after our date unless I told him. So I told him. Doesn't count. You could have got home by yourself. Kristen retorted. I had to chuckle at that. Yeah, I guess. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I heard a muffled shouting on Kristen's end of the phone. Probably her mom shouting at her to do something. I'm on the phone. I hear Kristen shout back. Then there's more muffled shouting. But Mom, I'm on the phone with Evie. I don't care about going out to eat. Kristen shouted back. Then there was some more muffled shouting. Maybe I will starve. Kristen retorted to her mom. I laugh at that. Then Kristen lets out an obnoxiously loud groan. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'm sorry. Kristen starts. My mom won't let me starve. I start laughing again and her blatant want to starve in order to talk. She better not. I say through my laughs. Oh, so you're taking her. No, I'm not talking to you, Mom. Kristen shouts and I keep on laughing. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I have to go. Get well. Love you. Kristen shouts. This time to me. Love you too. I respond. The dial tone clicks, telling me Kristen left, probably to go argue with her mom. I close the call and place the phone on the small table next to the bed. The room settles into silence, with the only sounds being my breathing and my heart monitor. I close my eyes and enjoy the silence as best I can. With my eyes still closed, I hear the door click open. Oh, she's asleep. A woman says. presumably the nurse. The door clicks shut. Loving how easy it is to trick people into thinking you're sleeping. My eyes start to feel heavy and I realize that soon I won't have to trick people into thinking I'm asleep. I'll just be asleep. I feel someone rocking me softly, and I open my eyes. My dad looks down at me. We get to leave and go home. He whispers as he lifts my arm over his shoulder to help me get up. I slowly move my legs so they are dangling off the bed, barely touching the floor. I use my dad to help me stand up. As soon as I'm standing, I wish I wasn't. A headache immediately comes on as I continue to stand. I spot my clothes on the end of the bed. Can I get dressed? I whisper, hoping he gets the hint. Oh yeah. To my agent extraordinaire, thing.丨heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'll just be outside the door. He whispers back. I take my arm off his shoulder, and making sure I have balance, I walk 2 steps to get to my clothes. My dad walks behind me and leaves. I reach behind me and pull the strings to the hospital gown. It becomes loose and I take it off while reaching for the sweatpants. I pull on the sweatpants and reach for the sweatshirt. I slowly pull the sweatshirt over my head, as to not make my headache worse. I slip on the moccasins that are sitting on the floor. I take small steps to the door. I open it cautiously to not frighten anyone on the other side. Just like he said, my dad was waiting for me right there. To my agent extraordinaire, thing.丨heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Sweetie, let's go home, he says softly as he loops an arm around my waist to help me walk. In my drowsy state, I know I need the help. I gratefully let him hold the majority of my weight as we slowly walk to the entrance of the hospital, where I assume my mom is waiting with the car. We reach the front of the hospital, where Riff was lounging by the front desk. As soon as we were in her sights, she started walking toward us. To my agent extraordinaire, thing.丨heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Can I please talk to you? She asked me, though she was looking at my dad. Riff, Evie and myself are very tired and we would like to go home, my dad said respectfully, but the stiffness in his voice didn't go unnoticed. Please, I just need to tell her something that's going to be very important, she pleaded to my dad. Riff gave me a look that asked me to help her persuade my dad. I looked away. Whatever you say to my daughter, you can to me. Please say it quickly, my dad said, no longer being as respectful as he was a minute before. I'm sorry, but I am going to have to enforce the patent confidentiality drive. Riff responded apologetically. My dad's expression immediately became hostile towards Drive. To my agent extraordinaire, thing.丨heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. She, in response, looked to me apologetically. Her eyes, however, pleaded me to reason with my dad. Dad, let me talk to her. It will only be a minute, I said quietly. My dad's gaze snapped to me, and I returned his hostile gaze with a tired one. His expression immediately changed to one that was more calm. I will only be over there, he said, pointing to the waiting area about 20 feet away. I nodded in response and he carefully unwrapped my arms and walked to sit in the nearest chair, which was still 20 feet away. I knew that no matter how hard he tried, he wouldn't be able to hear us. Thank you, Eddie Drive. Riff sighed. Just talk quick, I said rudely. Please. I amended after I realized how rude that demand had been. Drive. Riff's voice turned quiet. To my agent extraordinaire, thing.丨heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I know what those bruises are. I know where they come from, as does Josh, but I already talked to him and he told me not to tell you, so I won't. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was a doctor. For God's sake, isn't she required to tell me where my injury is from? I opened my mouth to protest, but was quickly cut off by Drive. To my agent extraordinaire, thing.丨 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Chevy, she pleaded in a whisper. I understand you want to know. Josh explained the situation, and I understand both sides. Kind of. But you need to know that I am always here for you. I gave her a disbelieving look. I didn't know her. I only met her yesterday, unless I was sleeping for longer than I thought. She sighed and seemed to know where my thoughts were. I know we just met, but please believe me. Here's my card. She discreetly hands me a business card. It has my cell number on it. I need you to promise me that if those bruises show up again, you will call me Drive. Wrist stared into my eyes, pleading me to promise. I don't even know you, and you won't tell me anything. I whisper yell. Please. We don't have much time yet before your dad comes back over here. It's almost been a minute. Please. Promise, Evie. She pleads. I wait a couple of seconds before responding. Okay. Sure. I say quickly once I notice my dad looking at us and the clock. Thank you, Evie. I expect you to hold up to that promise. She says a little louder, sounding like a mother who is talking to a child. I don't respond and instead motion my dad back over to us. He quickly hops out of his chair and rushes over to us. My arm immediately goes around his waist and his around my shoulder. Thank you, Drive. To my agent extraordinaire, Moonlit. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Hoping to sound normal in front of my dad. You're welcome, Evie. Just remember to contact me if you have any headaches. But otherwise, you are in the clear for school tomorrow, she says, catching on. I give an appropriate groan at the thought. Truthfully, I don't mind going back and getting back into the normal routine. I missed being normal, and school was normal, no matter how hellish it is. Dad started walking out of the hospital slowly, at a pace that was easy for me to walk at. We exited the hospital and Mom was right there with the car, excited to go home. She asked as soon as I got into the back seat. You have no idea. I mumble, already closing my eyes. Chapter 17. Getting up in the morning is hell. To my agent extraordinaire, Moonlit. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. What a headache immediate is when the alarm clock goes off. Maybe school isn't as good as I thought it was in the hospital, but it's still better than the hospital. I press the snooze button, but instead of sleeping more, I get up and sit on the edge of my bed. If I don't get up now, I never will. With my eyes closed, I feel for the off button on the alarm clock and turn my alarm off. I open my eyes to more in darkness. I slowly stand, and once I'm balanced, the headache slowly disappears. I walk out of my room into the bathroom. Once there, I splash warm water in my face to wake myself up, but also manages to get water all over the bathroom floor. I sigh, grab a towel, and kneel down to wipe up the water. Once the water hazard is gone, I relieve myself, wash my hands, and brush my teeth. I look at my appearance in the mirror. I look like shit. I sigh at my appearance, hoping I can make it look like I wasn't just at a hospital. I turn around and head back into my room. Go into my closet. I pull out a pair of dark washed jeans and a red sweater. I get dressed, brush my hair, and attempt to make my face more lively. Deciding to not go overboard, I only put on a little foundation under my eyes to make the circles they disappear. Turning around, I grabbed my phone off my nightstand and headed out of my room to the kitchen. Instead of hopping down the stairs like I normally do, I slowly walked down the stairs to the kitchen in search for food. Once in the kitchen, I walked to the cabinet which held the coffee mugs. Grabbing my purple mug, I walked to the coffee pot. I poured the coffee until it was 2 inches from the top. I went to the fridge and grabbed the Coffee Mate French vanilla. I poured the French vanilla in my mug until it was almost overflowing. Stirring it with a spoon, the black coffee turned into a creamy-colored heaven. Hearing commotion coming from the stairs, I knew my parents were coming to the kitchen. A couple of seconds later they entered. Who made the coffee? I asked them. I did. My dad responded. About half an hour ago. Well, it's exactly what I need. I responded gratefully. No problem, sweetie. My dad says as he comes over to me and kisses my forehead. How do you feel? I groan, knowing that this question was coming. I'm fine, Ed. I turn away from him, with coffee mug in hand, and walk to my backpack, which is on the floor near the door to the garage. Are you ready to leave? I ask her as I lift my backpack on my shoulders. Oh wait, I made you lunch. It's in the fridge. My mom exclaims while walking to the fridge. She pulls out a lunchbox and tosses it to me. I groan again at the parenting. I don't need you to make my lunches. Still, I side my backpack off and put the lunchbox in it before lifting it up on my shoulders again. My mom rushes past me with the car keys. I follow after her and we both get into the car. She starts the car and we head to my school. If you don't feel well, even if it's a tiny headache, you call me or your father and one of us will immediately come and pick you up. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Concern lacing her voice. I'll be okay, Mom. Promise. I respond with a sigh. Evangeline, promise me, she demanded. I sigh again. Fine. She smiles while huff in annoyance. Silence settles over us as we drive the rest of the way to school. Less than a few minutes later, we pull up. She stops the car in the front and I open the door to leave. I get out quickly to avoid any more talking. I shut the door and turn around to give a quick wave. She waves back and I head into school. Relief floods me as I walk in. This feels so normal and I feel so much better being here. My energetic step goes through the hallway, along with all the other students, as I head for history class. As I walk, I glance around to see if I can find Josh. I see my classroom coming up and I slow down a bit for a last chance to find Josh. No such luck. Hopefully he's here today. I give up my search and, hoping to see him in class, I finish my walk to class. I walk into history class and stop in my tracks. Ashton is already sitting at our table, scribbling madly on a piece of notebook paper. He is never there before me. I look around the room trying to find a teacher, assuming Ashton is forced to be here for detention or something, but there's no one else in the room. It was normal for me to be the first one in this room with a little time to spare before everyone came to class. Ashton's head snaps up in my direction. I quickly duck my head so I don't have to look at him. My steps aren't as energetic as they were when I entered the building. I slowly make my way over to our table. I can still feel his eyes on me. His eyes are still on me as I reach my side of the table and put down my backpack on the floor. I sit back up and place my mug in front of me, too nervous to take a sip of my coffee. Out of the corner of my eye, I see him focusing again on whatever he was writing. I relax a little in my chair and take a sip of my coffee. Silence settles over us, with the only noise coming from the noisy students in the hallway. I reach down to open my backpack and take the stuff I need for this class. I feel my sweater inch up on my side and I quickly try to pull it down. The bruises still haven't completely disappeared, but before I do, I hear a low, threatening growl coming from my left. I immediately freeze. That didn't even sound human. Still in the same position, leaning down to open my backpack, I glance over to Ashton. His body is tense, shaking almost, like he's about to snap. His knuckles are white from holding his pencil so hard. I look back to his face. His eyes are shut tight and I can hear breathing is ragged. His jaw is clenched tight. The pencil snaps and I jump at the sharp noise. Ashton's hand slowly opens and drops the now broken pencil on the table. I gape at the broken mechanical pencil. Who's that strong to break a mechanical pencil? I glance warily back at Ashton, who seems to have calmed down a tiny bit. He takes a deep breath and mumbles something under his breath. Ashton's eyes open and they meet my wide ones. Concern is etched across his face and his eyes are full of worry. My brain is scrambling as to why he would be concerned and worried. I'm the only one here. Suddenly, that I am still reaching for my stuff in my backpack and my side is still on display. I quickly yank my sweater down so the bruises disappear underneath my sweater. Ashton's eyes harden at my movement, but he doesn't do anything other than look at me again after glancing down to my side. The door to the classroom opens and a few students walk in. I glance at the clock and am shocked to see that class starts in only a few minutes. The door opens again and more people come in. These students come directly over to Ashton and I's table. I quickly straighten back up into a normal sitting position. "Hey man, where were you this morning?" a guy asks Ashton. I block out their conversation because, frankly, I don't give a crap about him or his friends. I accidentally make eye contact with one of the girls. I look at her brown eyes, small nose, pink lips and long brown hair. And surprisingly, I recognize her. She was one of the girls who, on my first day, shoved me in the hall. I frown at her. "What are you looking at?" She snaps at me, interrupting the guy's conversation. Her eyes turn hostile as she stares me down. I quickly stop making eye contact and look down at the table. I jump at the sudden growl coming from Ashton's mouth. I turn my head and see him glaring at the brunette. The brunette lowers her gaze when Ashton looks at her. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." She forces the apology out of her mouth. She looks at me again quickly, with the same hostile gaze she already gave me, and turns around to walk to her table with a flip of her hair. The first bell rings and Mr. Holland comes into the classroom. He looks flushed like he just ran a marathon, and the papers in his hand are folded and crumpled up in a not very neat pile. "Sorry for being late. Class, please talk to your partners about how your projected the lesson in order," he says as he reaches his desk. "The project. Shit. They must be due this week." I glance over at Ashton and I see him wince. I open my mouth to tell him how the project's going, because of course he can't help at all. But I am cut off by Mr. Holland. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." "Could I please talk to you?" Mr. Holland calls to me. I quickly nod, grateful that I don't have to talk to Ashton. I quickly stand up and head to his desk. "Yes. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." "I know you were sick for a few days. During the days you were gone, we took notes and I need you to get those notes. Ashton should have them, so today please get them from him." Mr. Holland says. I groan internally. "Okay. Is there anything else?" "Just make sure you and Ashton are finishing your project," he responds quickly. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." I say as I turn around and head back to our table. Just my luck. I have to ask him about notes. He probably doesn't even have them. He doesn't seem like someone who would pay attention in class. I reach our table and sigh. Mr. Holland says that we took notes while I was sick. He told me to copy them down from your notes. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Ashton responds. He reaches down into his backpack and pulls out a notebook and hands it to me. I mumble. I get out my own notebook, making sure my sweater doesn't reveal my side again, and turn to a blank page. I find that Ashton has not terrible handwriting as I start copying his notes. "So, how are you?" I hear Ashton ask me in a quiet voice. I immediately stop writing. Why would he care if I was okay? "Nothing's wrong with me," I reply sharply, hoping he will drop it. I don't want to tell him anything because he won't care. So why waste my breath? I start copying his notes again. "I know you were sick. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." "I just want to know if you are okay," he responds, his voice a little harder. I can tell he's irritated. "But so am. There's nothing wrong with me," I repeat through clenched teeth. I start writing harder. "Like hell. I know you at the hospital." He tells me, his voice still hard. My lid snaps under the pressure I am putting on it. How does he know? Leave me alone. I command, still with clenched teeth. Just for good measure, I slide his notebook back to him even though I'm not done copying the notes. Ashton grabs my side, the exact side with the bruises. Pain shoots through me at his contact. I hiss in pain through clenched teeth. Don't touch me. I hiss as I try to wrench my side out of his grip. Ashton seems to realize that he hurt me and he lets go. Oh God, Eddie, I'm sorry. He sighs. Not finishing his apology. I don't care. I don't want his apology. He can shove it up his ass for all I care. After a couple of minutes of silence, where it seems both Ashton and I are calming down, Ashton silently moves his notebook towards me so I can finish copying his notes. He doesn't say anything when I grab it and start writing in my notebook again. The rest of the block goes by in silence. The bell dings and I put away my notebook. I stand up and grab my backpack and sling it over one shoulder. I take a step, but am stopped when I feel small tingles coming from my wrist. They were kind of like mini electrical sparks that, instead of electrocuting me, they felt rather nice. I turn back and see Ashton's hand holding my wrist. To my agent extraordinaire, Moonlit, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Hear me out for a second. Ashton pauses and waits for me to respond, and I nod a second later. I'm sorry for hurting you. I didn't mean to. I want to meet up and talk about our project. The anger that disappeared during class starts rising up again. Well, it's kind of too late for that. Now, I need to go. I say roughly. I tug my wrist so he gets the message to let me go. The tingles are still present, which he doesn't. Ashton sighs and runs his other hand through his hair. I know you were in the hospital and I wanted to say sorry, Ashton says while grimacing. I look around and see his friends gaping at us. And then it hit me. This was all a trick. Ashton's friends must have put him up to this. I scowl at him. Who put you up to this? Was it one of your friends? I don't want to play your stupid games. Just let go of my wrist. I have a class to get to. I try to get my wrist out of his grip, but instead I feel his grip tightening a bit. I look up to see him staring at me with a confused expression. Something crosses his eyes, and his expression hardens. No one put me up to this, Eddie. I just wanted to apologize, he says with a clipped voice. I'm pretty sure he is holding himself back from getting too angry with me. Well, I wish he would get angry and do something. I am so sick of him and his stupid friends. I don't want your stupid apology. I spit out. Getting beyond sick of this game, I tug on my wrist and, with what seems like a lot of force on Ashton's part, he lets go of my wrist. I huff and turn around. I walk to the door and leave the classroom, feeling a certain someone's eyes following my every move until I am out of eyesight. Chapter 18. I walk straight to math class, hoping to see Josh there. I really missed him and am excited to be with him in a normal environment. And hopefully, he wasn't going off on that everything's going to be better spiel. I step through the door and my eyes immediately find Josh sitting in his seat. As soon as we make eye contact, a huge smile spreads over his face. I can't help smiling back as I walk over to my seat. To my agent extraordinaire, Moonlit, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You're here, Josh exclaims when I set my backpack down next to my seat and sit down. I know. It's magic. I respond sarcastically, just in time for the math test. While trying not to laugh at my expense, my smile turns into horror as I turn to the board and see that it says math test today. What? Not fair. I wasn't even here, I say loudly. Well, I suggest you go talk to her, Josh says while pointing to the door. A second later, Mrs. Flemington walks into the room. I quickly jump out of my seat and walk towards her desk. She reaches her desk a few seconds before me. She puts her laptop and folders down on her desk and looks up at me. Welcome back, Evie. How are you? Mrs. Flemington asks me nicely. I'm good. But I was wondering about the math test today. I say hesitantly. Oh yes, you missed a few days. Well, you will have to catch up in order to take the test. She gives me a knowing smile, knowing that I don't want to take the test. Instead of taking the test, how about you grab your math book and work on the problems we did during the days of your absence? Mrs. Flemington suggests. Yes, I think that would be a good idea. I respond sheepishly. Okay, she says enthusiastically. Get the problems that you missed from someone around you, and I'm going to ask you to go into the hole so we don't have any cheaters. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Thank you. I turn around and see that Josh is smirking at me. I poke my tongue out as I reach my desk. She said I didn't have to do it. I say smugly. His smirk drops and instead turns into a playfully angry expression. That's not fair. Well, I was in a hospital. I remind him child lie. Well, I had to come and visit you in the hospital. He retorts. Oh, well, I'm so sorry for your loss. I say sarcastically. Can I have the problems you guys did in class and for homework while I was gone? For what? But I can see that he understands a second later when a smug smile spreads across his face. You have to do all the problems we missed, don't you? All right now. Yeah. So, I don't have to take a test today. I retort just as smugly. I have him there as his smile drops. Whatever. I'm going to ace this test. Josh says, problems please. I respond, still smug because I know I won. Josh digs into his backpack and pulls out a folder. He then pulls out a bunch of papers from inside the folder and hands them to me. Josh looks at me expectantly. What? Glancing at the papers, Josh smirks. Your problems. Well, math problems that is. Wow, you're organized. I say sarcastically. Nevertheless, I take the papers and start writing down the problems that I have to do. A minute into my math problem writing, Mrs. Flemington starts talking. All right, you know what today is class. Please put everything away and get out your calculators and pencils. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Please go into the hole. I nod at her, grabbed the papers with all the problems written down, grabbed my math textbook, and stand up and walk to the door. Once I'm at the door, I turn around and mouth good luck to Josh. He smiles in return. I exit the classroom and drop my stuff onto the floor a few feet away. I sit next to my stuff and grab a random piece of paper with math problems on it. Opening my math book to the correct page, I start the long process of catching up on the work. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I jumped suddenly at Mrs. Flemington's voice. Class is almost over and everyone has finished their test. You can come back in. Okay. I'll be right in. I respond as my heart calms down from the jump scare Mrs. Flemington smiles in return and walks back into the classroom. I pile up the problems I finished and the problems I still need to do. I grab my math book and papers, stand up, and head back into the room. When I enter the room, I immediately spot Josh looking at me smugly. I cock my eyebrow in confusion as I walk to my desk. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He says smugly as I sit down. I scoff at him. I'm pretty sure she lied to you. No, Josh responded hotly. I know I aced that test. Keep telling yourself that. I snicker. Stop being such a bully, Evie. Josh whines. Stop being such a baby. I mimic him. Shut up. He mumbles and I laugh at him. The bell rings and I finish putting my stuff in my backpack. I see Josh stand up with his backpack and start walking towards the door. Of course he wouldn't wait for me. I pick up my backpack and follow him out the door. Josh is there leaning against the wall right outside the classroom. I grin at him. I thought you were going to ditch me. Me ditch you? How could you suggest such a thing? Josh says sarcastically with mock hurt. You're so full of crap. I say, smiling. Josh scoffs at me but doesn't respond. We reach my communications class and stop. I look at Josh. It's nice to see you back, Evie. It's nice to be back. I respond. See you in science. See you. Josh responds as he starts walking to his next class. I enter the classroom and immediately hear my name being squealed. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Catherine squeals as she rushes over to me. She tackles me into a hug and I try to control my face from turning red from embarrassment. Catherine, I say, breath I-ly as she squeezes me so hard I almost can't breathe. Where have you been? Catherine asks as she lets go of me. I wince. I was hoping that she wouldn't ask me that. Catherine seemed to sense my hesitation and drop the subject. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You missed a ton. Kind of. We finished the movie, and took a few quizzes on Romeo and Juliet. And we read some more. Catherine rambles about what they did while I was gone. As she is talking, we both head toward our seats. Well, that sounds like fun. I say dully as I sit down. Catherine follows my lead and sits down in her desk next to mine. Yet tons of fun. Catherine responds sarcastically. I laugh at her sarcastic tone, but am interrupted by Mr. Johnston. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. It's good to see you back. How are you? He called from the front of the room. I'm good, Mr. Johnston. I respond smiling. That's good. Could you come see me when there is free work time today? I can guess that he wants to see me to tell me what I need to catch up on. Sure. I respond, Mr. Johnston smiles, but turns his head to a student who is probably asking for help. I turn my head to Catherine, who is looking at me. To where agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I ask her, suspicious of why she was looking at me. Will you tell me why you were gone? She asks quietly. I hesitate to respond. I want to tell her, but that could be too many people who know. I don't want my private life to be known by everyone. I could tell her half of the truth. That I was sick, but not I was at the hospital. I was sick. Really, really sick. I say quietly. Well, that's not terrible, she says in the same quiet tone as me. It was bad enough that I had to stay home for a few days. I respond, still almost whispering. Well, Catherine says louder. I guess we will have to make up for that time. An understanding smile crosses Catherine's face and I smile back at her. All right, class. The bell has rung. Time for Romeo and Juliet. Mr. Johnston starts class. Strange. I didn't hear the bell. Probably too busy talking to Catherine. Mr. Johnston starts class by going over what we have just read. I pay attention, hoping that I won't have too much stuff to catch up on. Today, I want you to work in a small group and we are going to reenact what we have just read. Mr. Johnston is interrupted by cheers coming from multiple people, including Catherine. I thought you guys would like that. We will perform these in 2 days, so make sure you and your group are ready. Get to it, Mr. Johnston finishes explaining. Not even a second after he finishes talking, the class erupts into small conversations. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You're with me, Catherine says immediately. Do I have a choice? Though even if I did have a choice, I would still choose to be in her group now. I chuckle at Catherine's bluntness. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'll be right with you. I just have to go to talk to Mr. Johnston. I stand up and walk to Mr. Johnston's desk. You wanted to talk to me? Yes, how was your day back? Catching me off guard. I thought he would go immediately to the stuff that I needed to catch up on. It's good to be back. I respond truthfully. That's good. Now I know you probably already got this conversation, but we need to talk about what you missed while you were gone. Mr. Johnston chuckles at my facial expression, which probably turned into some type of scowl. Knew this was coming. I mumble. Mr. Johnston chuckles again. I know. It's not fun, but luckily in this class you didn't miss much. I sigh in relief. Let's see, Mr. Johnston says. You missed the ending of the movie. You can borrow it if you want to see the rest of it, but otherwise you should be fine. We took a quiz on what we have read so far. You will need to take that. Other than that, I don't think there is anything else. There was no homework due to the movie and the quiz, so you're off the hook there. I smile. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I've already seen the movie. I can come in early tomorrow and take the quiz. That will work for me. But I thought you would have wanted to study a bit more for it, Mr. Johnston responds. I'll go everything tonight and be ready by tomorrow. I've read Romeo and Juliet before anyway. I remember quite a lot. I assure him. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Tomorrow morning it is. Thank you, Evie, Mr. Johnston says. I smile in return and head back to my desk. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I see Catherine talking to other people who are probably in our group. I get to my desk and sit down. Catherine is in the middle of giving people roles. I'm pretty sure she appointed herself group leader. Not that anyone seemed to mind. Catherine makes a great leader. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Finally you've returned. We are discussing characters and who's playing who. Catherine gave me a quick explanation of what I had missed. Looking around at the people who are apparently in our group. There are 5 of us. Catherine and I. Grant, who I recognized from being in a group with him on one of my first days, and he's also Catherine's friend. Then one other girl and one other guy. I looked at them through the corner of my eye. They both looked familiar. I think they each are in one of my other classes, but I don't know which one. Oh, my thoughts were cut off by Catherine's exclamation. How stupid am I? Don't answer that. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. This is Henry and Delilah. Henry and Delilah. This is Evie. Hi. They both give me a huge smile which immediately settles my nerves. Hey Evie. I love your hair. Is it dyed? Delilah asks me, looking fascinated. I laugh. No, it's natural. Wow, it's so pretty, Delilah exclaims. I respond, feeling more shy now than I was before I met her. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Now that we've all met each other, let's get to work, Catherine says immediately. I chuckle at her excitement. We're doing the scene where Romeo goes to the masquerade ball and sees Juliet for the first time. I want to be Juliet. Delilah quickly calls a roll. Okay, if everyone's okay with that. Catherine pauses and we all nod. Delilah is Juliet. We need a Romeo. A Mercutio. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And a Benfolio. Sorry, Evie. You and I got to be guys. That's fine. I don't mind playing a guy, I say to Catherine. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Start calling out roles, people. Catherine says to the group. I would prefer either Grant or Henry to play Romeo. Catherine looks pointedly at Grant and Henry. There's no kissing in this scene, right? Henry asks. No, but there's dancing, which will be in our scene. Catherine responds. As well as there's no kissing. I'll be Romeo. Henry says. Perfect. Grant. Who do you want to be? Catherine asks Grant. I'll be Tybalt. He's a fun character. Grant says. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Grant is Tybalt. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Your choice. Catherine asks me while writing down who's playing who. I think about it for a moment before responding. I'll be Benvolio. If you didn't want to be him, I tell Catherine. I wouldn't mind being Mercutio if Catherine wanted to be Benvolio. No, it's fine. I'll be Mercutio. Catherine says as she finishes writing down the characters. Now let's write the script. The rest of the block passes quickly as we write our script. Per Catherine's demand. We can only use lines from the play. All too soon. The bell rings, signaling lunch. I put my stuff in my backpack and get out my lungbox. I follow Catherine out of the classroom and we start walking to the cafeteria. What were you sick with? Catherine suddenly asks me after a couple minutes of silence. I hesitate, not wanting to create a big lie that I can't remember. It was some version of the flu. Oh, that sucks. Catherine says bluntly. I laugh at her bluntness. Yeah, it definitely sucked. We reach the lunchroom and I immediately spot Catherine's group. I smile when they wave us over. We walk over and sit down next to each other. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You've returned, Taylor exclaims. I laugh at her excitement. I've returned from the dead. I joke. Laughter erupts at the table at my lame joke. I think they're just laughing to make me feel better. But it's okay. It feels pretty nice. Lunch continues at a very brisk pace and all too soon. The bell rings, telling us to get out of the lunchroom and go to our next class. Catherine and I leave together. See you in gym. Catherine says as we walk down the hall. I groan. Thanks for reminding me. Catherine laughs. No problem. She waves as she goes into her classroom. I keep on walking to French. Hopefully I don't have much to catch up on. Luckily, French is easy for me, so catch-up work shouldn't be hard for me. I reach the classroom and walk in, scanning the room to find Madame Cooper. I find her at the back of the classroom. As I walk towards her, I pause at my desk to drop my backpack next to it. I reach Madame Cooper in the back. Bonjour, Madame Cooper. She turns around and looks surprised. Bonjour, Evie. It's nice to see you back. It's nice to be back. I respond, but I was wondering about what I need to catch up on. Oh yes. Please follow me to my desk. Madame Cooper says as she starts walking to her desk. I do as she says and follow her to her desk. Well, let's see. Madame Cooper starts. We did a few in-class activities, but I know you're pretty proficient at French, so I'm not too worried about those. We did, however, have a few worksheets as homework, which I would like you to do. As she's saying this, she hands me 3 green worksheets. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Is that all? I ask her as I look at the sheets. Oui, merci, Madame Cooper says. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I respond. I turn around and head to my desk. I reach my desk and sit down and immediately start working on the worksheets. Hopefully I can finish these before class ends today. Hey Evie. My concentration is interrupted by a girl's voice. I turn to see who it is, and I'm surprised to see Delilah sitting next to me. Oh hey Delilah. I didn't know you were in this class. I respond as I turn back to my work. Yeah, I didn't know you were in this class either. Until I saw your hair, she says almost sheepishly. I laugh. Yeah, it's pretty noticeable. Delilah also laughs. What are you working on? Just the stuff I missed. I respond with a bored tone. That's up, she say, and I nod in agreement. Delilah's voice turns into a whisper. But if you want some help, I finished those worksheets. I smile at her offer and also respond in a whisper. Thanks. But I think I got it. Bonjour class. Madame Cooper interrupts our conversation and starts class. Instead of listening, I decide to continue my work. By the end of French class, I caught up with all I missed and even finished tonight's homework. I pack up my backpack a minute before the bell rings. Delilah and I had been talking all class and I found out she's actually pretty awesome. The bell rings and we walk out of class together. Where are you headed to? Delilah asks me as we walk down the hallway. Science. How about you? I ask her. It's going to suck. I have a test today. Delilah responds with a groan. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I respond. Tell me about it. This is my classroom. See you. Delilah says as she stops at a classroom doorway. Good luck. I respond with a wave as I keep on walking. Delilah waves back as she walks into the classroom. I walk to science and I feel my excitement rising at the prospect of seeing Josh again. I walk into science and see Josh is already at our science table. He smiles at me when I reach our table. I smile back at him as I put my backpack down. Be right back, I say quickly. I turn around before he can respond and head to Mr. Cole's desk. Mr. Cole, I say as I reach his desk. I was wondering about the homework and classwork I missed. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Welcome back. How are you? Mr. Cole asks me, completely ignoring what I said. I'm good. Trying to keep the irritation out of my voice, yes. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. We took some notes that you can get from your lab partners. We also did a couple of labs which you can also get from your lab partners, Mr. Cole finally gives me the response that I want. Thank you. I respond. I turn around and walk back to my lab table. Josh, I need your notes again. I tell him as I sit down. Again. Josh says exasperated. Why can't you do anything yourself? Josh smiles and I know he doesn't really mean it. Whatever, Josh. Can I just see the notes on labs I missed? I playfully glare at him. Josh laughs at me. You look so cute when you glare. He mimics my glare as he hands us the papers. Shut up, Josh. I respond hotly. I try to hide my smile at Josh's face, which is still mimicking my glare. Taking the papers from him, I get out a pencil and start copying his work. Josh catches my hidden smile and he starts laughing at me. I ignore him as I continue to copy his work. I ignore him for the rest of the hour. Not that we could talk anyway. We had a test today, one which I was forced to take. But it was easy. At the end of the block, I hand Josh back his work and put my stuff away. My happy mood decreases once I realize that I have gym next. I groan out loud. What's up? Josh must have heard my groan. Gym. Josh looks thoughtful for a second. Why don't you ask, mister? Guy, if you could sit out. That's such a great idea. I exclaim. Of course it is. It was my idea. Josh says cocky-ly. I scoff at his cockiness and wisely choose not to respond. We leave science and silence settles over us as Josh walks me to gym class. I think we both just don't know what to say, but I know I don't want to be the one to start the conversation. Neither does I presume. We reach the gym a minute later. By Evie. Josh says with a wave as he turns around to head to his class. See you. I wave back as I turn around. I walk into the dreaded gym class and see that I am one of the first to get here. I notice that Mr. Guy is standing off the side, looking around the gym. His eyes land on me and I start walking over to him. Afternoon. I want to try and convince him that I shouldn't do gym today. However, I don't think that will happen. He is super into his job. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. How are you? He asks me, catching me by surprise. I'm better. Not really sure if I should say something else. That's good. He says absently, but quickly snaps to attention. However, I got a call from your parents. I groaned, interrupting whatever he was saying. Of course my parents called. Why did I expect them not to, mister? Guy gives a short chuckle. Well, they said for you to take it easy for the next few days. We're starting the soccer unit today, and it will go on for about a week. At your parents' persistence. You will be sitting out today and possibly tomorrow, unless you feel up to it. I grin. Thanks, mister. Guy. I turn around and head to the locker room to drop off my stuff. You still have to get changed in order to get your points for today. He calls after me. I groan again. That doesn't make any sense. I turn around and see that he's already talking to another student. An exasperated sigh comes out of my mouth as I reach the locker room. I enter the locker room and immediately hear Catherine. I smile as I follow her voice. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. What's up? It's been like 2 hours since we've seen each other. She says sarcastically. I laugh at her while she whirls her hair on one finger and juts out her hips. I copy her actions. I know right. Eliminating the word right. She laughs at me and turns around to finish changing. So, do you know what we will be doing today? Yeah. Mr. Guy said we will be starting soccer today. I respond as I put my stuff down and open my locker to change into my gym clothes. Yes. I love soccer. I hope we're on the same team. Catherine says excitedly. I'm not playing today. Remember, I just returned from being sick. I remind her, trying not to sound smug. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. She whines. Why do you have to ruin everything? Me ruin everything. Yeah, right. I scoff at her whining. I finish changing into my stupid gym clothes while Catherine talks to another girl. If you're sitting out, why the hell are you changing? Catherine suddenly asks me. I frown, mister. Guy said I have to. Catherine starts laughing. That's what you get for sitting out. Whatever. You're just jealous. I respond with mock anger. Catherine's laughing stops and she playfully glares at me. Well, I like soccer, she finally says, sounding smug. I laugh at her tempted retort. Catherine smiles back a second later. She holds out her arm to me and I wrap my arm around hers. We walk arm in arm out of the locker room and into the gym. We head toward the middle of the gym where students were already there. We sit down around the outskirts of the students. Today, mister, Guy shouts out a minute later. We are starting our soccer unit. He is interrupted by a few cheers and a few groans. We are starting today with teams. 2 of your fellow students will be team captains and will pick their teams, mister. Guy pauses and lets that sink in. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Team captains, mister. Guy shouts continues. Ashton and Elijah. I know you guys will make it competitive. Ashton and that guy that came to our table this morning. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Both get up laughing. I know they must be pretty good friends. They stand next to Mr. Guy, who holds out a coin. Call it Ashton, he says while flicking the coin upward. Ashton responds quickly. The coin lands. Tails it is. You pick first, Ashton, mister. Guy says as he picks up the coin and walks to the side. Ashton's eyes start scanning the students. I roll my eyes and look at Catherine. She rolls her eyes back at me. We both know we'll be some of the last students picked. Well, she'll be. I'll be sitting out. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I hear my name and my head snaps to the speaker. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. His blue eyes are trained on me. My mouth opens a little in shock. I stare at him bewildered. Why the hell would he pick me? Unless it's some type of trick. Before I can say anything, Mr. Guy steps in. Sorry, Ashton. That one's out for today. She has a note. Please pick someone else. I mentally thank Mr. Guy for responding. I note to Ashton to tell him that I am sitting out. Ashton's hopeful expression drops and I look back towards Catherine. What the hell was that? She whispers to me. I have no clue. I respond. Out of the corner of my eye, I see a guy get up and join Ashton's side. Then, the competition starts. Elijah immediately chooses someone, a girl, and smirks at Ashton. Ashton then retaliates by choosing another person, another girl, to join his team. They go back and forth until just a few people are left, including Catherine. I'll watch you from the sidelines. I whisper to her as I start getting up. Catherine responds by giving me daggers. I shrug, knowing she's jealous that I get to sit out. I stand up, ignoring all the people who are watching me, and walk to the side of the gym near the locker rooms. I hear Catherine's name being called, and I watch as she walks over to Ashton's team. She gives me more daggers as she stands around the other people in her team. I know she's not happy to be on his team. I respond with another shrug. The last person is called. He goes to Elijah's team, and Mr. Guy goes out in between the two teams. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I want a fair game. No cheating. No rough housing. You know the rules. Game starts at the whistle blow, Mr. Guy places the soccer ball in the middle of the gym between the teams. He then walks away from the teams and comes towards me. I see the two teams each huddle up to probably decide who's playing what position or something like that. I watch as a student. One from each team goes to be the goalie. Both teams spread out on their respective sides. Ashton and Elijah both ghost and in the middle, each about 2 feet from the soccer ball. I look on Ashton's side and spot Catherine. She waves at me and gives me a thumbs up. Determination suddenly covers her face as she looks back towards Ashton and Elijah. I follow her lead and also look at them. My gaze is caught in Ashton's gaze. His blue eyes stare into my green ones. He looks almost saddened by my sitting out. I look away and instead focus on the floor. Why the hell would he care that I'm sitting out, Mr. Guy's whistle shrill S out, and I jump at the noise. The game begins. That was so much fun. Catherine gushes in the locker room. Her face is flushed from all the running and watched her do. Yeah, so much fun, I say sarcastically. While she was having the time of her life playing soccer, I had to sit on the sidelines watching. It was the most boring part of the day. Well, that's what you get for sitting out. Catherine playfully reprimands me. I lightly shove her shoulder as my response because I can't think of a verbal one. We finish changing and grab our stuff right as the bell rings. Catherine and I head out of the changing rooms and start heading towards the buses. Why don't you take the bus? Catherine asks me as we walk outside. I don't know. I guess I never found the right bus to take and it's more convenient. I respond thoughtfully. I never wondered why I didn't take the bus. It was just easier, I guess. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Well, see you, Catherine says. By Catherine, I respond as I turn around and head back into the school. I walk through the school to the front of the school. The buses are all the way in the back, so it takes a couple minutes. I reach the front and immediately spot my mom's car. I head out of the school and go to her car. Opening the door, I get in and my mom takes off. How do you feel, sweetie? She asks immediately. I groan, knowing that this question was going to pop up. I'm fine, Mom. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You just got out of the hospital. We need to make sure you're still not sick or anything. She reprimands me. I don't grace her response with my own response and we settle into silence. When we reach the house, I get out quickly and, using the excuse of homework, go straight to my room. Please don't bother me, I shout downright before I close my door. I go straight to my radio and turn it on. Music always helps me do homework, but at this point, there's a commercial on. I groan and curse the radio station in my head. I plop my backpack on my bed and follow right after. I get out everything I need to do tonight for tomorrow. I start the long process of catching up on schoolwork.